Hi everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Stacy and I'm the Director of Product Marketing for Tassel. I'm excited to talk to you all today about our AI-powered name announcements. So we'll start by going over some of the news coverage that happened this spring, dive into why we made this product and how it works, and then share some feedback from a customer, a student, and one of our voice artists. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A function. That's separate from the webinar chat. You're free to chat in the chat, but please send any questions in the Q&A so we can address those at the end of the webinar. And today's session is being recorded, so we'll include the recording in an email for you all by the end of the week if you want to send it along to any of your colleagues. So I've already introduced myself, but here with me today is Deepthi Perry, our head of product at Tassel. She'll be diving into more of how the product works. And then Harrison Sepulveda from the University of North Florida. He is a commencement coordinator and humanities professor there who will be sharing his experience with the product. All right, so I am going to kick off this webinar with a quick clip from Fox News. It featured a video from Pace University's graduation, and they are using Tassel's name announcements in this clip. You may have seen this clip already. It was featured by a few different news outlets and went a little bit viral.
Kurt, I want to get your reaction because we all love technology, but a college graduation ceremony used QR codes and an AI announcer as the students walked across the stage. Here's a little bit of it.
Alyssa Lequin. Mburukuya Gomez. Eiko Alvarez.
I mean, I get what they were trying to do, but after we spent all the money on a college degree and y'all can't get this right?
I'm just saying tech has a way of doing some magnificent things in our lives, especially all the breakthroughs with AI. This is not one of them. This is absurd. For you on your moment of glory, 4 days after working your butt off and you're up on the stage.
I'll go ahead and stop it there. You all probably have an idea where the rest of that conversation and commentary is going. They don't mention that every name is pronounced correctly and sounds pretty great. And
Kurt,
unfortunately, they were not the only news source who covered this. There were quite a few that all kind of shared the same message. They compared the experience to self-checkout at a grocery store or boarding a plane. Students were criticizing the process as impersonal, all before the graduation actually happened. And we are, of course, biased, but we found these articles to really only be telling one side of the story. And for every negative article, there were people sharing their positive thoughts and experiences that got to the root of why we adopted AI in our name reading practices. So I know the text here might look small, so I'll give you some highlights. Over on the left is a LinkedIn post from a parent of a student who used Tassel's name announcements. He shares how he was impressed with the pronunciation skills of the name reader and how well their voice held up throughout the ceremony, only to find out at the very end that it was AI. I loved hearing this story because it showed that this technology doesn't sound robotic like many of the articles allude to. And my second screenshot here is from a Reddit commenter, and this one I'm going to read aloud because I think it really encapsulates why we made this change. And it reads, I am Polish and I'd rather have my name read by AI primarily because it is such a difficult name to say. In all graduations, my name has been butchered multiple times by staff members that could not say it properly, and I, being embarrassed already, had to walk in embarrassment as they were trying to pronounce it. It got to a point that an interviewer left me a voicemail that said they weren't going to bother pronouncing my name. So yes, I prefer this. So let's talk about why this made so many headlines. First, I think is that AI is just a controversial hot topic right now. A lot of people don't like AI, no matter its usage or if it's done ethically. And second, this video doesn't really show how the software actually works. So you see the scanning and the walking on stage, which the audience would not see the scanning, but little else. There were headlines that students were surprised by the process, that the AI would make bad guesses as to how a name was pronounced. So they were making assumptions about our name announcement product that were not true to how it actually works. So we want to clear the air and provide as much context and information as we can about how our AI name announcements work. And I'm going to pass this over to Deepthi to dig into the details.
All right. Hi, everyone. We definitely wanted to go over how we developed this product and why. We developed AI-generated name announcements to solve a growing challenge, right? During peak season, our professional voice artists were managing thousands of names in a very short time, which made it difficult to maintain consistency and accuracy at that scale. Despite their skill, some names were still being mispronounced or overlooked. We conducted a survey to analyze the graduate experience with names, and the data backs this assumption up. 18% of the students that took the survey said that they would consider skipping graduation altogether if their name might be mispronounced. Overall, around 70% of the respondents rated correct pronunciation as extremely important, with even stronger sentiment among specific communities with culturally diverse names. So 100% of Southeast Asian participants and almost 93% of Middle Eastern and North African respondents said that their name being pronounced accurately mattered deeply to them. These numbers definitely reinforced our belief that pronunciation isn't just about logistics, right? It's about dignity, it's about identity, and the graduate experience when they walk across the stage at this pivotal moment. We knew we needed a better solution, one that ensured that every graduate could hear their name spoken clearly and correctly. And AI allows us to deliver that experience much more efficiently while still holding a very high standard of care and respect for each individual name. I'd like to go over the process of how this works for the graduates. So once a graduate logs in to the Tassel Graduate Web, they hear an AI-generated recording of their name using a professionally cloned voice. We create these voices in partnership with our voice artists, and the preferred full name that the graduate provides is used to create this AI-generated recording. If the pronunciation isn't right the first time over, they can regenerate it 3 times. And if one of those versions sounds correct, hey, Deepthi Perry, that's how my name sounds, it's logged in and it's used for graduation when they walk across the stage. And if none of these versions sound right, they can absolutely reject the AI pronunciation. And they're then asked to provide pronunciation notes, including phonetics, and they can record their name themselves. This info is then passed on to our voice professionals who re-record this for us. And they also have the option to select a cannot hear recording button, which means that if they're having any audio difficulties or technical issues, they are able to record their name if they can and pass this along to our voice professionals as well. Any other technical issues like missing audio or file errors also go directly to our voice team. Something that I definitely want to reiterate here is that if a graduate does not log in, these names are validated by our expert QA team, and they're cross-checked against the phonetic notes and their preferred full name. They're never reaching the commencement ceremony without somebody validating their names, where the first pass is the graduate, and who knows their name better than the graduate. And if they're not able to log in and register, our QA team takes over. And at the heart of everything we do is one question that we keep asking ourselves here at Tassel. Does this make the graduate experience better, right? Name announcements they're a deeply personal moment, and it's how graduates are recognized, it's how they're honored, it's how they're many years, 4, 5, sometimes 8 years of effort is recognized on stage when they walk across. And in many ceremonies, a professor or a volunteer is handed a name list and expected to pronounce unfamiliar names on the spot. And we at Tassel believe there's a much better way to handle this. A trained reader, supported by AI and human validation, gives each name the attention it deserves. And this isn't about replacing people, but it's about improving accuracy, it's about improving consistency and providing the respect. And to reiterate, for us at Tassel, cultural respect and correct pronunciation, they aren't just technical goals, and they're definitely a part of our values, our roadmap, and our vision. Yeah, as someone who has had their name mispronounced at ceremonies, this is deeply important to all of us here at Tassel.
Thank you so much. She will be back to answer any questions at the end, so please send those in through the Q&A. All right, so you will see a poll on your screen right now. I am going to play a clip from the University of North Florida's ceremony this past spring. Well, you will hear 4 names pronounced, the ones right there. 2 of them are the AI voice, the cloned voice, and 2 of them are the live, or not live, but pre-recorded name reader. So I will play the clip, and I'd like you guys to see if you're able to see which ones you think are AI generated.
Jonathan Tyron Gibbons. Jason T. Duff. Hong Hong Zhou. Wendy Rochelle Bromwich.
All right. I will give everybody a second to put their votes in. I'll play it one more time.
Jonathan Tyron Gibbons. Jason T. Duff. Hong Hong Zhou. Wendy Rochelle Bromwich.
All right. Jess, are we able to see the results of that poll?
Yeah, poll just ended and we have 54% for Jonathan, 30% for Jason, 27% for Hong Hong, and 62% for Wendy. And I'm going to share the results now.
That is interesting. So actually, the 2 that got the most votes, Jonathan and Wendy, were the 2 that were the voice artist. So Jason and Hong Hong were actually the synthetic names. So we duped you, I'm sorry, but that's the goal. We really tried with that voice cloning to make sure that you couldn't tell the difference, and we hope we accomplished that. All right. So next, we will go into our Q&A with Harrison. So thank you for joining us today and sharing your experience.
Of course, I'm very happy to be here. We've been using Tassel, formerly Marching Order, for several years here at the University of North Florida, and I'm excited to be here to talk about how much it has changed really our stress level when it comes to commencement. As all of you, I'm sure, know, like, it is a special skill set to put on a commencement or any really large event. And I must say that this is one of the best tools that we have in our arsenal, especially when we put on 3 commencement ceremonies a year. And as somebody whose name is slaughtered weekly, perhaps some of you in California might know how to say, but as somebody whose name is slaughtered weekly, like, I had a lot of ambivalence about attending my own commencement, and it wasn't until I found out that my professor would be reading my name, who knew me personally, that I actually decided to go. And in terms of psychology, I'm a humanities instructor here at the University of North Florida as well. Psychological research tells us that the favorite sound that any human can hear is their own name. And so names are not only deeply personal, but they're also just like, we're so ingrained to hearing our own name. And when we hear it wrong, it feels like, that's the dehumanizing element. It's like, this person doesn't really know me, doesn't really see the 4, 6, 8 years of work that I've put in. And I think that we here at the University of North Florida are kind of uniquely experienced to talk about this, particularly because Florida is, one of the largest states in the United States, and it's especially growing more and more diverse all the time, and especially here at the University of North Florida, where we have a lot of international programs, international business exchange programs with many, many countries, and so we're constantly getting new students all the time from all over the world, and that is a really exciting thing for us, but it also presents new challenges when it comes to commencement. And on this subject of the dignity of giving people their names, I think that this is one of the most responsible decisions that any commencement coordinator can make. It is extremely difficult, I think, to find staff who are skilled enough to even be backup readers. We always still have some backup readers, because there are students who decide that they're going to participate like the week of.
Always.
And so, we have our own process there that would probably mirror what we would do without this. But, the data collection that goes into getting pronunciation that gets from college students, to focusing their attention for just a few minutes from their busy end of semester tying their ends up, can be really, really tough. So I find in my experience, this has been the opposite of dehumanizing. It gives our students the dignity and reassurance that their name is going to be pronounced correctly. I have not, in my time here, had any complaint from any student or any family about the pronunciation of their name. And that is something that makes me sleep really, really well at night, because even though, many universities that I work with and that I'm in contact with here in Florida, have these devoted people that oftentimes spend maybe a whole month before every commencement ceremony preparing meticulously, as some of the voice talents do. Those people are rare, and they're becoming rarer. You have to find somebody who's really well read, who has a deep knowledge of linguistics and of other languages and pronunciation, especially if you're pronouncing a tonal name, like in Vietnamese or in Chinese, but also subtler things. We have a lot of Brazilian students. We are very close, obviously, to South America. And Brazilian students, are very particular about the fact, okay, my name may look Spanish like my name, but is pronounced, in the Portuguese way. And one of the things that Tassel really catches is those really subtle things that may not even be obvious if you do not know the background or the spelling of the student's name. And the other thing to consider is that commencement ceremonies have become, especially since 2020 and the pandemic, they've become a much more public event. I'm sure many of you live stream your ceremony on YouTube or on some other platform. It's an extremely public thing. So, and all of these names that you hear at our ceremonies are live streamed right onto that very public space where lots of people are tuning in. And one of the things that I really find that is not fair to the staff is if you get distracted or you're having a bad day, if you're there pushing through with like the flu or something like that, it's so hard to recover from saying even one person's name wrong. It can really, be a domino effect through the rest of not only the ceremony, but maybe the rest of the day. So, so I like that this gives our students ownership, it gives them control, and it makes them feel more comfortable, and ultimately increases our commencement participation rate, which is amazing. And Tassel's support that comes along with the name validation process is top notch. We are always very impressed with, when or if something goes wrong, it's extremely easy to fix. And we can also kind of proof what a student's name sounds like before commencement even happens, because every recording of every name is sent to you right beforehand. So, and then, the other thing is that a lot of students, we have a lot of Indian students, particularly here in Florida. And oftentimes they're bringing their whole family over from India. They're bringing their, I mean, whole big, event where, everybody's had to get a visa, which is a very long process. And I don't want those families to come all this way after their son or daughter has worked so hard for us to slaughter their name. I think that this really puts all of us in a much more globally inclusive arena, and also a more inclusive arena generally, because giving students the control over their name, over their preferred name, allows us to make sure that we're not dead naming a student, that we're not calling a student by a name they don't go by, even though that may be their legal name. Or if somebody got, married in the past 2 weeks, which happens a ton here, they can have the control to be able to do that before they actually change their legal name. But those are the big things that I have noticed here at UNF, and it's really saved us, a ton of agony and headache. And it really kind of takes the pressure off of the person, and it prevents us from getting on TikTok and going viral for, I'm
Right,
sure
I
you've
know.
seen.
I know
Yeah.
we were talking about how, previous seasons, the viral videos are mispronunciations, and it was kind of funny that this season, the viral video was correct pronunciation, just happened to
Mhm.
be AI, and that's what went viral this time.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah.
Um, thank you so much for sharing. Any final thoughts?
I will just say that, if you are curious about this product and have never used it before, I really highly recommend giving it out, giving it a test. I think you will find that it will free you up to solve some of the other issues or some of the more systemic problems that you may be having with your commencements, because this really takes so much pressure off. I cannot, and all of our customer service representatives that we've had with Tassel have been unbelievably stellar. And the process is very transparent so that you can customize it to your specific university's needs.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
You know, you said how it gives time for the staff to focus on more other issues with commencement. I think that's a big point, that this is just a big time-saving exercise, and not having to have that stress is really important.
Indeed.
So thank you so much for sharing your experience. We're so glad that UNF has had a great experience and that the students are happy with their pronunciations. And we know that that will continue into the future. So
Very much so. Thank you.
thank you, Harrison. We have some questions in. I'm not sure if any of them are for you, but we'll call you back at the end if they are.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. Next up, we have a clip from one of our voice artists. So Amy Johnson is a voice you might recognize. You might use her at your own ceremony if you're a Tassel customer. So she recorded this video for us ahead of time, giving her take on the new process.
Hi, my name is Amy, and I'm a professional voice actor and one of the name readers at Tassel. I've been a name reader with Tassel for, gosh, probably at least 7 years now, and it's been really exciting to see the company grow and the number of grad ceremonies that they produce each semester grow and grow. And now that they've moved into this synthetic voice cloning, it's really exciting to see how they're able to offer their services to a wider range of clients, but also how it makes things a little easier on us name readers as well. Obviously, there are only so many physical hours in the day, and there's only a certain portion of those hours that a name reader can be actively recording without doing any damage or undue wear and tear to their voice. And so having the synthetic voice cloning has certainly helped me in that regard. Take, for instance, in 2024, last spring semester, I recorded close to 75,000 graduate names and over 3,000 scripts. And that takes, as you can imagine, quite a bit of time. On the flip side of that, now this spring, this semester, I had just under 50,000 names to record, but my cloned voice, the synthetic Amy, as we like to call her, recorded close to 75,000 names. And so not only did it mean that my voice, whether I did it myself or my synthetic voice did it, but my voice recorded vastly more names for more students this semester. However, it took me less physical time to do it. Spring semester is always a bit of a grind as it is, just because of the sheer number of graduates who graduate in the spring of each calendar year. But the amount of time that I had to spend recording was much more manageable instead of trying to record for 6 or 7 or 8 hours a day, which any voice actor will tell you is very taxing on your vocal cords and on your body. I was able to cut that down to maybe recording anywhere between 3 to 5 hours per day during the peak couple of weeks, which was much more manageable. So overall, I had a generally very good experience with this first full semester of synthetic voice being put into action, and I think it's very encouraging going forward. It means that I can now also spread my time amongst other clients that I do voice work for a little more evenly during heavy graduation time periods. It's been a really positive overall experience for me this spring semester. I'm really looking forward to the fall to seeing how it all goes into effect in the fall semester as well. And I think it's very exciting moving forward to just reach more colleges and universities.
All right. Thank you to Amy for sending in that clip. But we've received some thoughtful questions from institutions about our AI integration and the impact that it has had on voice professionals. So hopefully this video explains that we're approaching this transition responsibly, and that we still have happy voice artists involved in the process. And for our last voice, we have a video from a spring graduate whose name was read with AI.
Oh, absolutely. Many, many times. When I had to deliver a presentation in college or at work, and people fumble with my name, it would hurt a little bit. I would feel disconnected even before I started presenting. So, yeah, there have been instances. The process of hearing my name through an AI generated voice by Tassel was like accurate. It was a little bit better than how people would say it. When I signed up, they automatically provided like a good phonetic representation of my name, so I didn't have to try too hard. It made the whole registration really easy. No extra, you know, registration stuff. No re-recording. So my my recording was perfect. On graduation day, it was pronounced correctly. I didn't have any problems. I've seen some videos where people have messed up the name so bad. I'm so glad that didn't happen to me. Yeah, just thanks to Tassel. They've been on top of the game. Impersonal. Um, no. Why would it feel impersonal? It's bad if you have a person who's getting a name wrong. But I've seen scenarios where that has happened. I've seen a few clips where they just butcher the name completely, and I'm just glad that didn't happen with my name, and nor did it happen with anyone else's name.
All right, and we have one more clip of him and his stage crossing.
Gaurav Hiru Surtani. Gauri Suryakant Naik.
So hopefully that gives an example of how much it can mean to a student to have their name pronounced correctly after having it repeatedly pronounced incorrectly through their life. And that's really what we're trying to provide. So thank you to all three of our guests. We're so thankful to them for sharing their thoughts with the group. And I hope hearing that these different perspectives is helpful in understanding how Tassel approached this decision, putting people at the forefront. I am going to pass this back over to Deepthi very quickly to discuss some future updates coming to name announcements, and then we will dive into the Q&A.
All right, and this includes two of the questions we're getting in the Q&A box that I would like to answer live. And the most frequent requests we have received related to AI names is about how the staff does not get to hear the names ahead of time. This is coming soon. This is absolutely on our roadmap, and we're working to bring this to you all soon, where the staff will have access to all the graduate confirmed AI pronunciations directly in the hub, as you do with the graduate recorded names if they do record it themselves. So no more guessing back and forth. You will be able to create a view to hear all the recordings that graduates confirmed. If they do not register, and this is generated on our end and QA'd on our end, that gets delivered a little closer to ceremony with your software. You are still able to listen to the name when you receive your software, your director delivery. We are also building support for multiple preferred names so that a graduate can use different names across different ceremonies if needed. So legal name, chosen name, a stage name in different ceremonies, and the audio will be corresponding to the preferred full name that they chose for that particular ceremony. We're constantly expanding our phonetics database to better cover a wide range of culturally diverse names, Indian, Chinese, Vietnamese names, as Harrison mentioned earlier. So we're covering a wide range of name origins and spellings. We have a database that is over 120,000 names large, and we are constantly adding to that every day. Again, as mentioned, this also includes more targeted training on culturally diverse names. They do have different nuances. Some are tonal, some need to have an additional voice component in there, different inflection, the way it's pronounced varies depending on the origin and the language. And these are, as mentioned, frequently mispronounced. And we are working on a new system to not just pass the Romanized names, but the native script to ensure that these names are pronounced accurately, as close to the native way as possible. And finally, we are strengthening our QA for cases where students don't log in. So even if they don't review their name, it still gets reviewed with care. We're working on a confidence model to help our QA team validate the names more accurately. So for example, if the confidence model thinks that, you know, this name has been pronounced accurately, we are 99% confident. That's an additional layer of QA that we plan to add to make sure that when the graduate does not listen to this name, it still gets validated on our end before it passes on to the director software and you hear it during ceremony time. The other thing I do want to address, although it's not on the slide, is concerns about it sounding a bit robotic, the inflection being different. We are absolutely working on that as well. We constantly retrain our voice models, and as mentioned, we partner with our voice professionals to retrain these voice models to make sure that the pitch, the inflection, the way the announcement is delivered sounds celebratory. It sounds not robotic. I know we've heard concerns about the names being robotic even before we launched the AI product. So I guess that is something we can absolutely change with the AI product because we have more control over these AI models as well. So we're absolutely working on changing that too. More to come soon through our roadmap.
All right, thank you. All right, let's head into the Q&A. I know you did answer one or two of the questions we got in your explanation just now, so thank you for that. I'll read this one, which is some feedback we got from students was that the names were announced in a way where it sounded like a question or hesitation. The best way that it was described is that it sounded like a question mark versus a period. Is that something that happens with the AI pronunciations, or is that mainly with voice recorders?
So this could be happening either. So I know that our voice recorders add in a little bit of a different inflection at the end to mix things up so it doesn't sound too robotic. Like I mentioned, we are retraining our voice models constantly to make sure that as and when we get this feedback, we incorporate that back into the voice models to make sure that you're not hearing that hesitation or question towards the end. So these voice models only keep getting better as and when we get this feedback. So please keep the feedback coming and we'll keep making the voice models sound better.
I was just going to say we got another comment in the chat around the same time about not having much of a pause between first, middle, and last name. It sounds like that's something else that can be improved with the training, as you were saying.
Absolutely. Adding in a period in the middle, like Catherine was mentioning, is an easy way we do that. But we have a lot of ways to make this better and sound more not robotic, for lack of a better term.
All right. We also got a question where they said that they had requests from students who asked if I could access the recording that they submitted or the recording that they accepted. I would like to have access to hear them or share it with them to put their mind at ease.
So the best way right now to ensure that the graduate hears the recording and confirms it is if they log in and register, right? They're able to go in, provide us a preferred full name and hear the recording. If they don't log in and they are still requesting a recording closer to ceremony time, that's something we need to figure out a solution to if we're hearing, a lot of requests along that way. You do have access to the director and you should have access to MP3 files that you can share with the students closer to ceremony time. But the best way would be to register and make sure that they are hearing their name and confirming that ahead of time.
Yep. We got another question that's asking if institutions have directly addressed the AI component on their FAQs to address any potential concerns grads may have about this and how it feels less personal. I personally don't know if any institutions have shared this in their FAQs. I think that's something maybe in the chat that you all can answer. But I think it's definitely an option. If you know that your student body is concerned with the use of AI, we're happy to help and provide resources about how you can explain it to them and how that this is an ethical use of AI and designed to help them have a better graduation experience. But I think it's fair to put it out there in the FAQs. We also got a question and then a comment about this being rolled out without formal communication. And so I will say we did send a communication before this change took place. Looking back on it in hindsight, was it the clearest communication? Maybe not. We will take the blame for that. And we also found that a few customers were left off the list, just marketing, pulling list errors. So we apologize for that and have made moves since to make sure that everybody is included on those communications and that we are being as transparent as possible with webinars and more blogs and things like this that will fully explain the changes that we make to the product. We got one question that says, we require the student uses their legal name for graduation. If a student tried to upload the recording for a nickname, how is that flagged for staff to know?
Right. So this would be part of the process where the admins have to validate all the preferred full names if you're enabling that process for graduates. So if they did add in a preferred full name, the AI recording would correspond to exactly that preferred full name that they provided to us. And the admins get to validate these preferred full names. This is one of the tasks before the data due date. Now, with some of the new changes coming about, you can also hear the confirmed recording corresponding to that preferred full name to validate the name as well, provided that they've approved it and it's not going to our team for validation.
And I will say that I just finished the validation process for my summer commencement ceremony here at UNF because we have 3 a year. And I will say, I have students more often than not because we do allow them to use a different name than the legal one that we have on file, which is the legal one is what's uploaded on my end. And so I'm really only checking for when I'm going through their individual name validation, like, did they type in something crazy? Like, are you Darth Vader? Are you Vladimir Putin? Like, those are all real ones that I've gotten. And it's very, very easy to just, as the administrator, go in and correct it and move on. So that way, you know that you rest assured that you're not going to hear, Darth Vader or whatever. So you have a lot of control over that, and you can that feature is entirely optional in your package, as Deepthi was saying. You can fix it to where they don't have any control over deviating from their name on file with the university.
Right. So you can just turn off the preferred full name question to not be
Mhm.
graduates, and then it just uses the full name that was uploaded by the admin. Absolutely.
Right.
All right, thank you. Another one says, for our most recent convocation, there was a noticeable difference in the way a name was pronounced in instances where several people shared the same last name. It just occurred to me now why that happened. Perhaps the AI-generated versions, if not reviewed by the graduate, pronounced the name differently than the way a student who took the time to review and change the pronunciation would sound. For example, the last name Kaur sometimes came out as car and sometimes came out as core. I would think that assumption's probably correct, but Deepthi, anything to add on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And absolutely, if the graduate reviewed it, it's much more likely that, they know exactly what their name sounds like, right? And they would confirm it only if they think that it sounds accurate. If it did go to our QA team and some of these instances were slipped, this is something we're working towards remedying this fall, where we absolutely bolster this up with phonetics to make sure that these last names come out sounding consistent across all instances of these last names. So this is absolutely something we're working on. If there were a few instances of this, we have examples of that. We're retraining our models. We're absolutely adding more to our phonetics and then improving our QA process to catch these instances.
Great. Can Tassel provide graduation coordinators with information concerning synthetic voices so we can share with non-believers on our own campus? I would be happy to help with that. We can provide text if you all think like a PDF just explaining it would be helpful, or just a link to a web page. Happy to do that as well. Feel free to drop in the comments what kind of information would be helpful, and we can work on pulling something together to share with you all ahead of your next ceremonies. We have an idea, which is that it would be cool with the AI voices if last minute Louise could have their names submitted and quickly turned in to a code with download, not day of, but maybe the day before, which I am guessing that is something we would love to have, Deepthi, but I'll let you talk about that.
Absolutely. We've definitely received feedback about last minute graduates and, them not having a name recording or even a name displayed on the director software. And just usually is something like, congratulations, graduate. As this becomes an overwhelming request, it's heard. We're definitely looking for a solution to this. And in fact, with the AI models, this is more of an opportunity to use this to generate that name on the day of and make sure we can service all of these late Louise as well.
We got a question to Harrison in the chat, asking if by removing faculty readers, how do you keep them engaged?
Well, that's a very good question. First of all, we still have readers on hand just in case. Those late Louis that we have, usually they're going to have their name read ahead of time anyway, and I usually collect their phonetics on my own, and I usually speak with them to get an idea of what their name sounds like. And we have to go the old-fashioned way where, they still have a card and everything like that, and still kind of go over it with our readers that day. But to your point about the faculty, our faculty have really taken to it because it has allowed for us to find new ways for them to participate in commencement without this really stressful bit being on them. We have a really robust number of commencement marshals that take on all sorts of responsibilities, corralling the students into their respective groups. That's one great thing. Another great thing about Tassel is you don't ever have to worry about a seating chart ever again. They never have to get into a specific line. Like, we used to put them in alphabetical order, and the faculty used to have to do that help us do that as well, and it was a nightmare. And so it has made their experience going to commencement more enjoyable because they can just be with their students, and like a lot of them have started getting up and like lining up if they're from a particular college to like shake all their hands or like give hugs or whatever. So I find that it has actually increased the number of faculty in who actually will participate in commencement. That is always a challenge for this job, trying to get, especially in the summer, getting people to participate. And I think that with that stressor removed, it has actually been more successful in recruiting them. Oh yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think those are good ideas for keeping faculty engaged. I know personally, I would be very happy to not have that pressure anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
We are over time. I will just answer this one last question that came in a couple forums, which is, will all my name recordings be AI from this point on? Have they already been AI? The simple answer is your recordings will probably never fully be AI. We are doing as much as possible with AI, but if a student can't hear the recording, if they say that the generated name pronunciation is incorrect, it will still go to that live reader. So I would assume that you will always have some sort of combination of live readers or voice artists and AI names. But yes, this was put into place for the spring semester for all customers. All right, I know we did not get to all questions, but we have the full list and we will follow up with each of you individually to answer those questions. Thank you all for spending this 50 minutes with us. I really enjoyed hearing everybody's perspectives. Thank you, Harrison. Thank you, Deepthi. And we will be sending this recording to you all shortly, hopefully in the next day or two. So thank you again. If you have any more questions, feel free to send them over to your CSM, and we're happy to have you all with Tassel. Thank you.